Okay, so good morning, everybody. I hope everybody's safe. Aliza, I know that you guys had a lot of drama. Um, you're muted, Aliza. You need to click on the microphone. Yeah,
Baruch Hashem, we're okay over here, but close by, the people really had a lot of drama.
yeah.
But Baruch Hashem, we're okay. Thank you.
But I think that wasn't your son evacuated?
Yes, he was. He was. And Baruch Hashem, he's hoping to get back to his house as soon as he can.
Okay, good. That's good news.
Thank you. We were
Uh,
very worried for him for those few days were very scary.
yeah, yeah, I can imagine. Um, okay, so um, we're going to start. And if you remember, hi Maxine, we started a while ago with Shabbat, and then we went to Shalosh Regalim and we finished it. And basically, what I want to do is now to go back and start the weekday davening. And we spoke about a lot of concepts and a lot of the big ideas behind the tefillah and historic roots and all that kind of stuff. While discussing the particular tefillot of Shabbat, what I want to do today is kind of go back. Maxine, I have here. Yep. Yeah. I want to go back to some of the basic concepts of tefillah, and with that in mind, go into the very beginning, Modani and that kind of stuff we're going to see in the beginning of the Siddur. Just to, now that we jump into the water, now we can look at the overall picture of some of the stuff. So, is it a mitzvah to pray, to daven every day? Yes, no?
Yes.
Yes, no? Apparently, it's a debate. It's a debate. It's a debate, a very famous debate between the Rambam and Nachmanides, the Ramban. According to the Rambam, it is a mitzvah from the Torah to daven every day, and he based that on a pasuk from the Torah. This is "Va'avadetem et Hashem Elokechem." You should worship God. What does it mean for him? The way he interpreted that, it means that there's a particular mitzvah, there a particular obligation to daven on a daily basis. Okay, fine. However, and then from I'm sorry. No, the way the Rambam understands that's particularly is what is avodah, right? Va'avadetem, what is avodah? Avodah shebalev. We spoke about that. Avodah shebalev, zoi tefillah. That is particularly tefillah. And that's the Rambam's conclusion. I'm like crunching it like a lot of pages together. And from the Torah, on the Torah level, there's only obligation for one tefillah, according to the Rambam, on a daily basis. That's it. What we have, shacharit, mincha, arbit, musaf, all that kind of stuff, that's on a rabbinic level. That's what the Rambam says. Fine. I'm sorry? It's not a minhag.
It's not a tradition.
It's not a minhag. It's not tradition. It's obligation, but
from the rabbi.
Correct. Rabbinic.
For women as well as men?
Yes, for everybody. On like one tefillah from the Torah on a Torah level. That's the Rambam. Okay. The Ramban Nachmanides disagrees, and he says no. From the Torah, there is no obligation to daven every day. No, but rather it's what? It's when you need to. Thank you. And he quotes the pasuk from the Torah that talks on a time of distress, a time of war, and he said, in times like that, there's an obligation. The rest of the time, you do it. That's great. That's on the Torah level. It doesn't apply to us. For us, we live, we perform, we breathe rabbinic Judaism. There is obligation for 3 tefillot, all that kind of stuff, whatever, everything that we know. Okay? But I'm going back now to the concept. Fine. So what's the difference? The difference is that in a time of distress, a time of war, the time of whatever need, everybody agrees that Tefilah is on a Torah level obligation. When times are good, there's a debate. There's no debate whether it's an obligation on a rabbinic level, but there's a debate whether it's an obligation on Torah level. Okay, fine. Next, we said who? The Ramban. That's the Ramban. Yeah, he said it's like, right, in the times of war. Only those times there's an obligation to ask God for mercy. That's not. He says that's Odah. That's fine. That's you say thank you God, but that's not Tefillah. Tefillah is when it's Sheilat Tzrachim. Okay, this is why you're setting up the stage already for the Amidah, and which is the heart of the Tefillah. And the Amidah, we're going to be dealing with Sheilat Tzrachim. We're going to ask for this and this and this and this and this. Okay, fine. So fast forward, we said the Anshe Knesset Agdolah, the people of the Great Assembly, BCE 350 to 120, roughly, established the Tefillot and the blessings, and mainly the Amidah, and most of the blessings. And they also established and made it into a rule, kind of the Shacharit, Mincha, Arvit, Musaf, the fact that we have that structure, and it's an obligation. Fine. So what happened in the times of the temple? First temple. There was a korban. We said Tamid shel Shachar, Tamid shel Ben Arbaim, and where so we had the offering of the morning, the offering of the evening, that was done by the Kohanim in the temple. Fine. There was the burning of the leftovers at night. Fine, we understand that. Did people daven? Well, it seems that they did, but that was something very personal and not as a formula. I had something good happen to me. Thank you, God. Something bad happened to me. Oh, God, what I'm going to do now? That kind of stuff. People pray. But there was no formula of tefillah. There was no obligation. There was none of that. What? No timing, none of that stuff. Okay? What happens? We go into the first exile, go into Bavel. Can we bring korbanot and all that kind of stuff? No. Temple is destroyed. People are depressed. Things were tough over there. It's not that they went for a vacation, right? They went into exile. They were sold to slavery, and it was a terrible situation. They start building a life over there. Refugees. What do they do in order to feel together?
Pray.
So they get together. First of all, maybe it was like somebody's backyard, living room. They started to get together. Immigrants starting to get together, maybe to talk, maybe to give support to each other, learn Torah. And slowly those gatherings to that type of Torah learning with, maybe it's like, okay, let's say something together. Let's, that kind of stuff. That is the beginning of communal prayer. That is the beginning of communal prayer. This is how it started from, kind of from a need from below. By the time the second temple is built, we found a lot of archaeological findings. There are a lot of synagogues already. Those gatherings are the beginning of the synagogues. Yeah. Correct. It's because it's like where people gather. It's the YCMA. Why? YMCA. Something. I'm sorry. Something is wrong with what I said. It's the JCC. It's like something. We get together like, right? By the way, it was very similar to what happened here after the Holocaust. People started, or even before the Holocaust, when Jews started coming here from Europe, fleeing from the pogroms and everything, they started, and all those societies and all those organizations and all that kind of stuff, it's because they needed support. They needed to be with each other. They needed to, it's a form of maintaining your identity, kind of. Okay. So at the time of the second temple already, so we have the sacrifices, all this stuff is happening during the time of the second temple, but at the same time, we have synagogues already, where they already have gatherings where people get together to learn, to hear some words of encouragement, to learn some Torah, to pray together, strengthening each other, all that kind of stuff.
But no sacrifice.
Not sacrifice. Sacrifice is only in the temple. Only in the temple. So what happens? Fast forward. Now the second temple is destroyed. And the rabbi said, oh, what are we going to do? Well, we have already something. By that time, there were a lot of synagogues. Prayer was already something that people do. Again, not as a really obligation, as a formula, all that kind of stuff, but it's really happening. It's like something that is happening on a regular basis. People go, they get together, they learn, they daven, something, all that kind of stuff. And the rabbi said, okay, so this is going to replace the korban. And if we're going to do that, we need to give it structure. Because just like the korban is very structured, the whole process is very structured and detailed and organized and blah, 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 blah. This is where all this idea of what to do in the tefillah, when to daven, what to say, a million of rules comes from. Because it's instead of the korban that said, I need to bring those elements into the tefillah, to that replacement. Okay, so now the members of the Great Assembly, they established that formula specifically of Birkot Kriyat Shema, the blessings of the Shema. We talked about that, the blessings before and after the Shema, surrounding the Shema itself, and the Amidah. But to some extent, the Amidah, which is the heart of the service, is being repeated 3 times a day. It's the same thing repeated 3 times a day. Is it super, I don't know, expressive, something that I connect with all the time? And no, there's some sort of a disadvantage versus something that is spontaneous and like, oh, thank you, God, I love you. Thank you for, whatever. Or a sincere seek of God after a tragedy or whatever, right? This is like you would think that this is the real deal. This is just like, a fixed formula. What do it's like, but the bottom line is there are a couple of elements. One, we can't expect people to feel those low and high all the time and be able to express themselves. It just doesn't happen. If you're going to wait for those special moments in your life, most of your life, you're not going to do anything. So there's a need for a systematic, and also the Korban, just like the Korban was every day, 365 days a year. It's the same idea. So you need to create this mechanism of keva, something that is kavua, something that is sustainable, that is permanent, that is fixed, that is repetitive, and it happens every day, just like the sun rises every morning, just the way the same way. So there's a compromise here about, let's call it perhaps the authenticity of things, and we'll see how they try to deal with that. But these are the two elements, and there's a tension between those two elements, and this is something we're going to see all the time throughout the Tefillah. It's called keva, which is the fixed formula of the prayer, and the kavanah, which is the intent, the spontaneous tefillah, the feeling that something exciting, which most of the time doesn't happen, especially in our days. Okay, so you have Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. Okay, fine, I get it. You maybe, you experience something in your life, so okay, I get it. There are those moments in life. Most of the time, we're somewhere in a normal range. So there's this tension between those two elements. Okay, let's look back for a second. Let's zoom out. Those two elements existed from the very beginning of the concept of prayer. When the Talmud talks about this debate, what's the origin of tefillah, whether this is attributed to our forefathers or to the korbanot, that's exactly it. When Abraham stood and prayed, and from which we learn this idea of praying in the morning, he was going through an emotional turmoil. When Isaac we learn from Isaac about Mincha, the afternoon service, he was going through difficult times also, right? It's after the passing of his mother. We don't really know what's the nature of the relationship he has with his father. He knows that he's going to be married soon to somebody he never met. And what he does, he goes to speak to God. Okay? Jacob is also, we learn about the Mariv davening, the evening service from Jacob, where when he runs away from Esau, that he wants to kill him. Could you imagine what's going on with him? So all those are telling you that this is like the poster child of kavanah, of spontaneous plea to God. The flip side is the korban. Every day, I don't care what's the season, what's the day, you're going to do exactly the same. A routine, meticulous routine, detailed routine that cannot be changed, cannot deviate anything. You're going to change a tiny thing, you're dead. That's what happened to the two sons of Aaron, remember? So, this is the tension. So when the Talmud says the tefillah is the same, it means it has those two elements, and I would say contradicting elements. This is why tefillah is so difficult, because we want to feel the inspiration, we want to feel the spontaneous moments, we do want to feel like the kavanah, we want to, but at the same time, you're obligated to the routine, the laws, to be precise, to and the details, and so this is what we're dealing with all the time. Correct. Correct. And what happened? So fast.
Maybe that's the problem.
Well, but it was part of a greater vision, and the vision was we're going to shift from centralized religion in the temple, rituals, all that kind of stuff. We're going to move from that to what? Individual practice. The responsibility is not centralized in Yerushalayim, in the temple for the Kohen. It's everybody's responsibility. By the way, the same goes for Torah study. Torah study was not an obligation. It becomes a mitzvah after. All of a sudden, there is like, okay, now I have to do it. I have to do it myself. Okay? Take Leila Seder. Instead of me going and bringing a korban Pesach, now the obligation moves to me, to my home. I need to do that now. I need to teach the story of the Exodus to my children, my grandchildren, and it's on me. It's no longer, okay, hi Kohen, here's my Paschal lamb. Do what you. Oh, yeah. So this is the overall approach. So Tefilah, everybody needs to do it. Torah study, everybody needs to do that. Jewish education, everybody needs to do that. I'm looking at that kind of in a broader way. It's it's parallel to the process of bringing up children. In the beginning, you have to feed them, you have to clothe them, you have to do everything for them when they're babies. At some point, they have to start taking care of for themselves. That's what happened to us also in our religion. That's the way I like to think about that. And the level of guidance also fits exactly with that image. In the beginning, you have Moshe Rabbeinu, and he's there, and he tells them exactly what to do, and everything is taken care of, blah 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 blah, whatever. As Moshe says, "Kasher yisa ha'omenet hayonek." I'm taking care of them like a mother that nurses her baby. Okay, fast forward, you have the prophets. The prophets are like, parents of teenagers. Listen, what you do is wrong all the time, especially with teenagers, right? All you do is you need to correct your ways. You need to do it, whatever. Okay. Do they listen? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Okay, that's what happens with the prophets, right? And later on, prophecy disappears, and they're on their own, and they need to take, there are consequences to their actions, right? And that's what happens with children as well, right? If you have a child who is an adult, you can't, feed them to make sure that they eat the right food. Yeah, when they're 3 months old, you do that, or maybe three. Okay, but you can't do that to a 30-year-old. No, I'm saying literally feed them. Not talking about that, right? That's where we are. So we are in a different stage. Okay.
Is this what Hashem intended for?
I think so. I honestly believe so. I think that this is the development. It's like, think about, the relationship that God had with Adam, and then Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. It's like God was like pulling back all the time, and then you have to do something it's a different format with like the whole nation. It's like using Moshe as an intermediator, right? So I don't know. I'm sending my kids to school. That's the parallel, right? But I send my kids to school. It's hopefully the school is aligned with what I believe and what I want for my child and all that kind of stuff and whatever, and my philosophy. And the school is the one that has that connection with my, okay? I think that this is like the process.
Because when we have Brit Hamikdash again, are we gonna go back? Or?
That's a huge debate. That's a huge debate. I believe that we're not going to go back. We're going to have, God willing, we will have Beit HaMikdash, but it's going to be totally different. We mentioned that several times in our discussions. I believe this is going to be some sort of a university. It's going to be some sort of a academic institution that deals with ethics, morality, justice. Yeah, I don't believe so. I don't believe so. I don't believe so. It's not only me, but whatever. Okay, let's go back to Tefilah. So the tefillot are kind of, we find them obviously in the Siddur. And this is how we express ourselves with tefillot. And we're gonna see throughout, especially in the weekday tefillah, we're gonna see those examples where the rabbis, on one hand, create that fixed formula. On the other, if you understand what's going on in tefillah, they'll tell you, okay, this is the time for you to add your own stuff, or this is why we do that. This is the time for the personal expression. Okay. Unfortunately, I think that at least in traditional davening in the Orthodox world, we tend to forget that element. The flip side is in some of the liberal places, some of the reform places, and even renewal, and it's only that. And so let's sing a song that expresses our feeling today rather than dealing with a siddur. You got to find the balance between the two. I'm giving the two extremes, but I think that and to some extent, I think that we have some sort of a crisis, especially the younger generation is not really connected to tefillah. And yes, it's a problem of education. They don't understand what's going on over there. They don't understand the words. They don't, they're not connected to that. But it's also, we live in time where people want to express themselves. I'll take an example from my field, but it applies to everything. In the old days, if you wanted to listen to somebody singing, then you went to a concert or whatever. Today, everybody's a singer. You don't need, putting together a studio in your home or in your garage. It's not a big deal. It's not even expensive anymore. Everybody has like a laptop, a microphone, and you're done, right? The amount of new music that is being released every day to YouTube, for example, is enormous, is more than would have, used to be released in 10 years by the records companies. Okay? A similar revolution happened with Torah study. It used to be that only people who were learned and dedicated. Today, theoretically, anyone can do it. Choose your topic, whatever. There are numerous opportunities to study with somebody, without somebody, on your own, whatever, online. whatever you want, anytime, 400, 500 years ago, who studied Talmud? Not the masses, not the masses. Today, my daughter in 8th grade, started 7th grade, studied Talmud in school. Okay, there's like this idea of everything is accessible. Okay. And so if it's accessible, I need to make it my own. I want to find my own flavor to it. And if I'm going to take out that personal expression, that element of personal expression, then I'm missing something. This is why you have a lot of people looking for inspiration, go, the Happy Minyan or Hasidic stuff or whatever, and that kind of stuff or whatever, because they're looking for this element. There's something, and we're so afraid to touch the text. God forbid. So we find other expressions, maybe it's the music, it's the dancing, it's the style, it's like whatever, that kind of stuff. But Chazal and the Tefilah itself show us that's not the case. There are plenty of opportunities to express yourself. Use your own words. But we're afraid. And most people, I think, like mainstream, don't do, orthodoxy at least, they don't do that. Which is, I think, a missed opportunity. Let's skip the rest of the theoretical stuff. We'll come to that. Okay. I want to go into the very beginning. Modani לפניך ולך וקיים שחזרת בי נשמתי בחמלה רבה אמונתך. I thank you, living an eternal King, for giving me back my soul in mercy. Great is your faithfulness. We say that immediately when we wake up. The Talmud in Yerushalmi, in Masechet Berachot, says that sleep is 1/60th of death. Okay, we're technically unconscious. And so waking up is a form of rebirth. This is why, by the way, we wash our hands. We're going to come to that in a second. We wash our hands also immediately after when we wake up in the morning. We're going to talk about it in a second. So the first word is modeh or moda. Depends, right? Is modeh or moda. From the word toda, thank you, right? Which is the Jewish concept. When you wake up in the morning, first you say thank you. And the idea is, if you think about the Hebrew, it should be the subject first, and then the verb, like ani modeh, should be, not modeh ani. But Chazal, the rabbis specifically changed the order, and they said, I don't want the first word coming out of your mouth is me, I. The first word coming out of your mouth when you wake up in the morning is going to be thank you. It tells you about the concept. It tells you already, how I'm going to set up, what is my priorities, how I'm going, how do I look at the world? By the way, how do we finish the Tefilah? Aleinu leshabeach. We need to praise God. I start with thank you, and I finish with praise. Why? Because if I understand the thank you, then I go into requests, then it makes sense. I take it with me and I praise. I have to do that. Okay. Melech Chai V'Kayam. God who is eternal king. Right? God is the king of the world. God created the world. So we are expressing our gratitude for what? For life. For life. For being alive. Okay? And waking up in the morning is like rebirth, I said. It means it's a clean slate, new beginnings. It's the way I look at it, it means optimism. It means hope. It means everything is possible. It's a new day. Everything is possible. This is kind of like the first thing that this is how I'm supposed to set up my mind as I wake up in the morning. So I often ask, like, when I taught kids Tefilah, I was like, so what are you thankful for today? And if you're going to pause in the morning, right after saying that, pause and think, like, what am I thankful for today? It set up your, kind of view for the rest of the day. It's extremely powerful. It put things in perspective. Okay? Let's go to the next one. Netilat yadayim. So we wash our hands and there are a lot of ideas here. First of all, so the formula, this is the formula of blessings, of stuff, right? Of blessing in general, and this is like the formula that we got from the members of the Knesset Agdolah, of the Great Assembly. What's the story with water? A couple of things. Okay, purifies. Why it's purification? It's not really purification, but you're onto something. Okay, what is the story of a mikvah? It's rebirth. Right? When somebody convert, they go into a mikvah. Right? The Christians learned that idea from us, right? And so the mikvah is it's a rebirth. When women go to the mikvah every month, it's because it's a new cycle. There's a rebirth here, right? When we wake up in the morning, it's rebirth type of, and therefore we wash our hands, right? Okay. Water also represent movement. Usually in nature, water move. Okay. Okay.
Water also takes shape of whatever you put it in.
Correct. Okay. So I understand that life is dynamic, right? And it's okay to adjust. By the way, we do it from an atla, from a washing cup. Why? That's like just technicality. It's because that's the way the Kohanim did that in the temple. But there's a theological idea behind it. If I do that, it means I want to do something. What did the Kohanim do? They washed their hands because they were about to engage in something in sanctity, in holiness, right? Blessings, but the rituals, like, So if I'm doing that, it means I'm going to give that element also to my actions, which brings me to kind of like the whole concept of Netilat Yadayim. Very often we translate things and it's not exactly. So in English we say washing our hands, but it's not true, because in Hebrew it's not called rechitzat yadayim, right? To wash something is the shoresh rachatz. It's not natal. This is netilat yadayim, the shoresh natal. What is natal? To take. So what is it? What's going on over there with this? That thing is called netilat yadayim. I think if we look at the different times throughout the day in which we do netilat yadayim, we understand something. I'm taking my hands, and by the way, that's what the Kohanim did in the temple. when they washed their hands, they had like a whole prayer that they used to say, I'm going to take my hands and use them in the service of God. What are we doing? We're washing our hands in the same manner that the Kohanim, the priests, used to do it in the temple. Now, hands, remember, in Judaism represent what? Action. Action, maaseh, correct. Right? Head represents thought or intelligence, or right? So what am I doing? I'm reciting a blessing also, but this action is a declaration. Is a declaration that what I'm going to use my hands in a holy way. I'm going to use it to increase holiness in this world, to add or to combine, to infuse my actions, to add this element of holiness into my actions. And think about, like, all the time, so when do we wash our hands? Also, we wash our hands before we eat bread, right? We didn't do that time before. Okay, every living organism needs to eat, right? Animals eat to survive. Okay, but what am I doing? I'm going to wash my hands. I'm going to recite a blessing. That means I'm going to do this very natural, right, basic action of eating, and I'm going to elevate that by reciting a blessing, by recognizing that the food that I receive is from God. Elevated in a way that increase sanctity, increase holiness in this world. Right? And so on, for all the times, and so this is what do we do when we wash our hands? We take our hands and we declare we're going to use those hands. We're going to act today in a way that connects, Rav Hirsch calls it, to connect heaven and earth. I'm going to take that, whatever that means, holiness, and I'm going to incorporate it into my actions. So yes, I need to eat. I'm going to eat, but I'm going to do it in a different way. Yes, I need to go to business. I need to interact with other people, but I'm going to do that in a holy way. My actions are going to be infused with holiness. That's bottom line. That's kind of what we're supposed to be doing in this world, right? Okay. So when I do that, perhaps we can ask ourselves, what is it? Where am I in my life journey today? What is it that I want to accomplish today? See, when you discuss, and this is why I chose to start with Shabbat. Shabbat is like, we started with this stuff because we come here every Shabbat and I wanted you guys to understand, to feel more comfortable with the text and understand. Now that we go back to the beginning, I think that we can delve into the second level of things and take every tefillah and really go deeper and understand how that relates to me. What can I do about that? What I love about tefillah is that anything goes. It's not like when you learn Tanakh, okay, so you have Rashi, you have this, whatever. Yes, you can come up with your own interpretation, but it's, okay, here it's much more flexible. I need, and this is at least my methodology, I need to make it relevant to me. And me of today is different than me of tomorrow. Today, I'm inspired by certain things. Tomorrow, I might not. I will never forget my third daughter was born Friday night. Or I was born like about 1:30 a.m., something like that, in Kaiser. And I remember at about 5 o'clock in the morning, something like that, walking from Kaiser home. My sister-in-law was with the older two. And, I got home and I told them and whatever. And I took a little snooze and I came to shul and I davened and I gave her name and everything. That davening was different for me, at least. I don't know about, I didn't sleep at night, whatever, but I felt like I'm on, 3,000 clouds, walking on clouds, right? So you have those moments in life, but it's not every day. So not every day is the same thing. Sometimes you have those moments of inspiration, sometimes you don't. When we wash our hands, think about it. What is it? What I'm going to do today? How my day is going to look like? And how my actions are going to be such that increase holiness in this world. Okay? Let's look at the bottom paragraph of page 5. And I think this is going to be our last one for today. Asher Yatzal. Look at the text. Blessed are you, Lord, our God. I'm on page 4, the bottom. King of the universe, who formed man in wisdom and created in him many, what is this word? Orifices? Orifices, okay? And cavities. It is revealed and known before the throne of your glory that were one of them to be raptured or blocked, it would be impossible to survive and stand before you. Blessed are you, Lord, healer of all flesh, who does wondrous deeds. Okay, we recite that as we leave the bathroom. Okay, we understand what's going on here. It's not only chronologically, wake up, say Modeh, wash your hands, go to the bathroom. It's not only that, that we're concerned about the chronologic, like the order of things, like in the morning as you wake up. No. It's also, can you imagine a situation where the body doesn't work properly? Unfortunately, we see it all the time. Everybody is battling with something, right? And so don't take even your body for granted. Okay? Now, try to say that to a bunch of teenagers or even like kids. It's very hard. It's much easier, when they're sick, it's a little bit, yes. But we're talking about like, I think it's
This is like normal.
correct.
Life.
Correct. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Correct. And by the way, this idea, this mindset is already setting us up for Birkot HaShachar. So we do not take things for granted. So we are going to thank God, for, if you look, that we can walk, that we can, we can see, that we can, get up in the morning, that we are not imprisoned, that we have all that we need, that we have shoes, all that kind of stuff. Not to take it that, so it's already from the very beginning, even though we're going to say it later on, it's already like setting some sort of a course of how you should think about things. Where is it going? Okay, where is it going? And the other thing that I want to say about this tefillah of Asher Yatzar is also, it also teaches us and reminds us the sanctity of the body. And what it means, it's also the responsibility that we have towards our body. And how do we take care of ourselves physically and mentally? And, you know, this is like a whole thing by itself. But do we do what we're supposed to be doing? You know, are we eating properly? Are we taking care of ourselves? Are we taking our vitamins? Are we exercising? Are we, you know, all that kind of stuff. That's a lot for like about 30 seconds since I woke up in the morning. But I think that, okay, I'm going to digress for a second, but you'll understand where I'm going with that. So so this week is going to be 12 years that we're here. Yeah. And about 10 years ago, I got a call from Rabbi Safran at Hillel and said, listen, I need your help. I want you to come and do something with Tefilah because the kids are not connected to that, like, you know, whatever. And I developed a whole curriculum, and that's the way we did it. But I told him, here's the thing. The classic approach to teach Tefilah, that means I'm going to tell you, you know, what it means and the translation and blah, 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 and like what we call Iyun Tefilah, failed. It doesn't work. So the only way, and I get it, it's not traditional, but the only way is to make it personal. If I'm able to take those texts and make them into a personal experience, then we have a chance. And I started with, like, you know, EC with early childhood, and it's like, and I said, like, okay, who was ever sick? And like, I don't know, the mommy was sick and whatever. It's like, you know, and now they're better. Yeah, okay. So, you know, is it, you know, what do you think about say thank you to God? Like, you know, oh, okay. So, you know, that's I went directly to Refaenu in the Amidah. I didn't deal with, like, you know, Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov with a 5-year-old. Okay. Etc. etc. I started with the stuff that they can relate to. You know, who was ever did something wrong, you know, and had to say sorry, you know, because they did. Oh, that's slach lanu avinu kichatanu, etc. etc. Stuff like that. So that was kind of like how I developed the idea. It's got to be personal experience, and so I can't tell you what to think about because it's going to register in a different way. You know, Maxine is not going to have the same thoughts as a teenager while reciting perhaps you know, Asher Yatzar or stuff like that. You're in a different stage of your life.
Experience.
Correct, but it's not only that, right? It's a different stage of life. And so what I think is that, you know, when we think about our body and this obligation to take care of our body and to take care of you know, and to or say thank you for our body and what we are able to do, it's different for every person. It depends on the challenges that he or she are experiencing and where they are in their lives and all that kind of stuff. So I'm throwing those ideas, but what I would like is to know that people are thinking about something during that time. I can't tell you exactly what to think, but I can tell you, look, when you wash your hands, hands represent action. Think about what you're going to do today and how that's going to impact you and your actions. My actions are going to be different than yours. So my thoughts of what I'm doing today is going to be different than yours. Okay? When I think about my body, so I'm thinking, you know, in a certain way. Somebody, you know, Maxine is going to think about it in a different way. What are the challenges? You know, somebody who's dealing with challenges of you know, some sort of a physical challenge or whatever that is going to look at that in a different. the whole thing is to make it alive. That's what I would like to do with this, like moving forward, taking those prayers and make it personal. I can't tell you what to think, but I can tell you the categories or the overall art, what's going on, what are the themes. Your job is to make it personal. And I promise you, if you're going to make it personal, it's going to become alive and meaningful. And if you remember what we discussed in the beginning, that there's a tension between the keva and the kavanah, between the fixed formula and the spontaneity of reciting prayers. I think this is the way to work it out. I'm reciting that. Yes, I'm reciting the same words every day, but I'm giving it meaning, a new meaning every time, because I'm in a different stage of my life, because I'm older, because I'm wiser, because today I'm suffering from something that I didn't suffer from yesterday, or today I'm in a better shape than yesterday, etc., etc., etc. So this is how we're gonna progress. I know it's not gonna be like super fast, but that's okay. We have time. But that's the way I would like to progress with those tefillot. So I'm just gonna summarize. Modani is thank you, God. Netilat Yadayim forces me to understand my mission in this world, connect holiness with everyday actions. Think about it. What does it mean? How am I going to do that? And then it's both appreciate my body, appreciate, giving thanks to God, all that kind of stuff, that my body functioning and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, what is my responsibility? Am I doing what am I supposed to be doing? Is this the best way I can? And again, not because I want to be, to win Ironman. It's not because of that, but rather because I need to bring holiness into this world. That's my mission as a Jew. How can I do that if I'm not going to be in the best way that I can? You need to be active. You need to do whatever. For somebody is to take their vitamins. For somebody else is going to watch their diet. Somebody else is going to, whatever, take care of their body. Somebody else is, whatever that is, it doesn't matter. The point is that it focuses us. It's so easy not to be focused nowadays. It's like, look at the phone. It's like, okay, Israel and here and that and fires and whatever. It's like. And it's like, before all that stuff, where am I? What am I supposed to be doing? Okay, this is it. It's a new day. It's a rebirth. Everything is possible. I can do this. Let's remember what is my mission for today, how I'm going to do that. Let's go. And the day, let the craziness start. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Good perspective.
Thank you, everybody. We'll continue. Oh, next week we're not going to have a class. I'm not going anywhere. We have a faculty meeting of the academy. So I think it's like in Wollheim or something like that. So I'm going to spend the day over there. So no class next week. 2 weeks from now, same time, same place.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well,